we've never seen a crime where in 12 minutes, 4 able-bodied, beautiful, everything in front of them young people were stabbed to death, and 2 surviving roommates didn't hear anything, didn't see anything, didn't also get attacked. I mean, the whole thing was so bizarre, and he was well on his way toward having a successful life. His professor at his college in Pennsylvania, Catherine Ramsland, was set to take the stand in this case for the prosecution. And she's the one who recommended him to Washington State for the PhD program with a glowing recommendation that he got his master's at her college in Pennsylvania. And she's like one of the people when it comes to criminal justice and these forensic examinations of crime scenes and criminals. And she sat down with Brian Entin of News Nation last night and was fascinating. The whole thing was fascinating, including her talking about, well, let's just go through it as we wait for the live feed to come from this Idaho courtroom. She starts off by saying what her initial impression of Kohberger was. SOP 42.
What was your perception of him?
He seemed like eager to be in the classroom. He was polite. He was respectful, intense, and curious. And there was no reason for me to think that he was anything other than someone who was really interested in this potential career.
Okay, that's how she kicked it off. And then she got to what it was like when she found out he'd been charged and whether she looks back now on what she taught him in a different way. I'm going to bring in our panel as we wait now. Again, it's Matt Murphy. Matt's a former homicide prosecutor, lifetime. That's how he spent his adult years, putting terrible people in jail. So good on him. And author of the book of Murder. And Howard Blum, who is the journalist to follow on this case since the very beginning. He's also the author of the book, When the Night Comes Falling, a requiem for the Idaho student murders, which is now out in paperback. Highly recommend if you have any interest in this case. Matt, Howard, welcome back. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Let me just give you another additional bit of color. Brian Entin reporting from News Nation in Idaho, in the line outside the courtroom, waiting to go in. They have us up against the wall to make room for the victims' families as they walk by to enter. Everyone is silent. I'm so sad for them. You can only imagine the level of decorum you would try to offer these families as they walk into that courtroom. I mean, the amount of sobriety you would try to bring to that moment as an onlooker, as a journalist, as a lawyer. Matt, you've been there. You've been the prosecutor in this exact circumstance. Try to set the scene for us.
Well, this is obviously a tremendously somber moment. The prosecution outlined some good points on why you might offer a plea for a case like this. The appellate process goes on forever. That's true. The families have to go through it in trial. Of course, that's true. But that's the case in every single murder. They're all brutal. And if, you give the family a heads up as a prosecutor, but having them come in, one of the things that's disturbing to me about this case, Megyn, of course, is the disconnect that appears to have taken place between the prosecution and at least the Gonzalez family. And in a word, that really should never happen. Sometimes it's unavoidable. It appears that certainly some of these family members are on board with this plea. Again, there's good reasons for that. But every family, Megyn, that you deal with in a murder case is somewhere on a spectrum between profound sadness and profound anger. And they all sort of wind up and they evolve over time, typically. And Mr. Gonzalez clearly, and I think for the entire pendency of this case, has been very much on the anger side of the spectrum. Like you said, who can blame them? But there are different rules in Idaho than many other states that have what's called Marsy's Law. And in California, for example, the family has a constitutional right, the immediate family members, to address the court, to address the defendant, and to talk about the impact that this had on their family. And
at
this
the
is
plea,
one of
Matt?
those things
at the
that,
plea, or
I'm
just
sorry?
before sentencing? At the pleading, like the day that he cops the plea, or at the sentencing?
Under Marcy's Law, which is also known as the Victims' Bill of Rights, they have a right to address the court each and every time there is a significant event in a courtroom. So any
Oh, wow.
significant procedural event in a courtroom, the family has the right to address the judge and to address the defendant if they're present. So, and it's a powerful thing. Idaho attempted to adopt this in 2019, and they didn't for whatever reason. And you can mark my words on this. I predict after this case, there's going to be a renewed push to adopt Marcy's Law in the state of Idaho.
We don't know exactly what to expect when it comes to the family. Howard, your thoughts on this? We haven't gotten your opinion or just to talk to you since the news broke that he's cutting the plea.
I mean, I think the prosecution made a very pragmatic but ultimately cynical decision. I mean, all along in this case, we've seen the authorities in Idaho trying to move on. Remember Judge, he couldn't wait to leave the case, to get off of it. Then when Judge Hippler came in, the first thing he said, his first day in the courtroom, I'd like to say I'm happy to be here, but I'm not. And then the University of Idaho, they wanted the whole town to forget about it. They insisted that the murder house should be torn down.
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.